All right, let's go ahead and do a Mercedes video here. So, I'm doing the high pressure pump on this thing because it has the high pressure pump fault that trips under heavy load, which is common. I don't know the fault code exactly, but this is my brother-in-law's sister-in-law's car. So, first things first, I need to remove this intake duct here. Now I have these cloth ones. Most likely they're just gonna fall apart when you take them off. So, yeah, that's just what they do. They're just glued together barely. All these cloth ones always fall apart. There it goes. So you can get lucky and then kind of put it back together. But if it really comes apart, then just get a new one, because what happens is it unravels and gets sucked in your intake. It won't damage anything, but it'll just be sucked in your intake. Set that to the side. It's gonna fall apart. They always do. And then we get blamed for it from the customer because you have to remove it to do that. There's two clips here for the ME. You just push them to the side so you get the ME off the airbox. We're gonna pull the airbox out. Alright, take your intake tube off. Now the intake tube can also be pretty hard to get off. Sometimes heating it up with the heat gun helps. But for this one I just kind of stick a screwdriver in there to pry that tube off, and you just gotta work it. You might need a heat gun to get it back on sometimes. They're really tight. So pry this little fitting off here, this little evap purge line. Let's see, we got that, and we got a harness that we just pop off the back over here. Sorry, some of this you're not gonna be able to see really, but it's not too bad. God, I feel like I haven't had one of these off in forever. Take your ME, flip it to the side, and you have another connection down here. Just go ahead and push the tab in, unplug that one. And you got another one over here. Release the gray lock. Still got to remove these electrical connections off the airbox. And I think that's everything for the airbox. The airbox just pulls straight up off. It's rubber mounts here. Oh, looks like I forgot something here. So the airbags have these two connectors here that were connected. So you just, what I do is I wiggle them side to side, and then they need to slide upwards. So you wiggle them and kind of pull up at the same time to get this off. And just go ahead and take your ME, your engine control unit, push it kind of down to the side. Better. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove this thing here, the engine oil filter, give me a little more room down here, and then to get this high pressure pump off. So you're going to take these two bolts off, this little bracket, and then the two bolts in the back. And this is just like a sub harness here. Just unplug that and move that out of the way. It's really tight in here to see, but it's 27mm for the oil filter. Crack that loose. If you want to remove this line, this purge line, you have these ones that you squeeze right here. You squeeze those, pop that off, and then the ones going to the vacuum pump, you just squeeze, trying to focus here, you just squeeze these and then pull it straight up while squeezing them. Place that to the side. A little more room. I'm going to take this electrical connector off here now. Pull that to the side. I don't know if you guys can I hope you guys can see this. So yeah, okay, that's off. And then you can, so I gotta take these E10s, the two going this way that hold this bracket on over here, so I'm gonna take those off now. Just trying to, oh, where was that? Now if you don't have an E10, you can go ahead and use an 8mm socket. Most people don't have E sockets in their drawers. So this one's just an 8mm 1/4" socket I'm using here. My fat hand's blocking everything. So the repair manual pays to remove the intake manifold, just so you know. Which would make it a little bit easier, but we can probably get this done without, but we'll see. I mean, I know I can, except that I'm alien. But if you're at home and you want to remove the intake manifold, it's actually not too hard. We'll take that connector. So this connector that you're moving to the side is for the high pressure pump solenoid. So we need a 17 for this bolt, this nut right here. This is the high pressure fuel line to the rail. It's a 17 mil. Okay, let's come in here. Now I do recommend, is it a 17? It might be an 18 actually. No, it's an 18. Anyways, I do recommend that if you are doing this, what the frick size is this? Maybe it isn't an 18, maybe it's not an 18 yet. Why can't I don't know, I guess that doesn't. It is in fact a 19. Let's get that loose here. Okay, we got that off. So the hardest part of this job is there's a clamp for the fuel line, is a crimp clamp. Now you can switch to a screw clamp after you get it off. But what I'm gonna do, so what you're supposed to do, what they want you to do is put it on TDC, but it's really not that big of a deal. You can do it without putting on TDC. So there's 2 bolts in the back for the high pressure pump. So I'm gonna remove those, then I'm gonna undo the rubber line to this. So these are also E10s. So you're probably gonna need a wrench because I don't, I can fit my, actually can't fit my ratchet in here. Let's see if I can fit it on the bottom one. It's pretty tight, but it fits. These bolts aren't too hard to loosen by hand after you get them off. And you're gonna need like a wrench or a 1/4" wrench at least to fit in here because it's real tight. So when you do get this off, you're gonna get a little bit of oil drizzle down the back. And then you're also gonna have to get this little, there's like a little socket in there, a little thing that spins on the camshaft. You're gonna take it also. I'll show you once I get it off. So I got these bolts out. So now that this is off, there's this centerpiece that sometimes gets stuck on the camshaft. So this will either fall down or get stuck on the cam. So just make sure you grab it first, just so you have it. And then you can go ahead and take your bolts out of here. now you gotta pull it back a little bit off that metal, the metal line, and then you can kind of manipulate the pump around to get these bolts out, which I am not having a good time. Bolts out. So now we have to do our rubber line. So the rubber line is down here, which is really hard to see, but it has a crimp clamp, and if you go ahead and stick a pick in there, you can pop that off, and then we can work that rubber hose off. So I went and grabbed a long pick here. It's a radiator pick, so you can just get underneath that clamp and then pop the top off. I'll show you once I get it fully out. And then we're gonna also leave this loose until we get the clamp fully on here. Because if you try to put the pump on, then put the clamp on, you're never gonna get the clamp out. So what a lot of people do is just switch over to the screw clamp style, which some people may say is not right or whatever, but it's been fine. And I forgot my crimp clamp tool at work for crimping those back, so I am just gonna switch to a regular screw clamp style. Soon as I get this off here. Thing. Big long needle nose helps too. If you have long needle nose pliers, you're gonna need those anyways. Kidding me? This harness is freaking stuck. There we go. Oh god. Alright, let me get the crimp clamp off here so you understand how these work if you've never taken one of these off before. So this is your crimp clamp. So the way it is it's squeezed together, and then this hooks in onto here. So what I do, all you do is when it's closed together like this, all the way, you stick a pick in here and you just pop this upwards, this part. Serious. You pop this upwards and then it comes off this ridge here. So the problem with these though is when you try to put them back on, you need a specific pair of pliers for these. So a lot of people switch to screw clamp style, and this is probably, I mean this is pretty small. This is what, 3/8 line here? They don't go by standard, so it's millimeters. But this one clamp, so these clamps always have numbers on them. They'll tell you the size. So this one is a 14.5 to a 14.5 millimeter. I think. This one maybe actually, no, this might not be that either. It's usually a number right here. I'm not seeing it on this one. Tell you the diameter of the clamp so you know when you go grab a new one, you know which diameter to grab. This doesn't say. It does have some numbers on here though. It says 145. I 14.5. But anyways, yeah, you go ahead and just use a screw clamp because it'll be 10 times easier trying to fit a tool down there and put this back together. Alright, so I went and got a spring little screw clamp that I'm going to slide on there now. I think the way I'm going to choose for it to position is like this. So turn it till you can slightly, just barely grab to the hose because you don't want it to be able to twist around while you're trying to tighten it with the pump on there and everything. Okay. You have to transfer this connector from your pump, so just go ahead and squeeze those and slide that off. It's raining on me now. Not cool. So they give you a little bit of grease on here to hold this on, so just be careful that you don't lose that when you put that, slide that down there. Take these off.
Dad, it's raining.
I know, it's raining on me.
Where's Mom?
Go in the bathroom. Now here's where the long needle nose come in handy. Trying to get this back on here. Oh, got sucker raining on me. Shoot. Alright, I'm going to try to show this without it getting blurry. So what I'm going to do is I got the zip tie that's going to hold my needle nose together. I'm going to reach down here, holding on to the fuel supply line. And I'm gonna pull it on and push it onto the high pressure pump. Hudson Campos. Might have to loosen. I think I got it. So you're really gonna need non-gimos to do it without pull me intake manifold. That's where pull me intake manifold comes in handy. I think my screw clamp is a little too tight. Yeah, it's a little too tight. Slipping on something, hopefully not breaking something. All right, trying to get my. How's it going? Alright, well now that I'm full on working in the rain, the only time it ever rains in California, the only time I ever work outside, it rains on me. So now that you got the hose on, which I do, so you have to line it up with the, now we have to get it kind of on, back on the metal line down here, and it slides in here. So you have to slide it into the high pressure pump first, and then line it up with the back of the cylinder head, because if you don't, then you're gonna you won't be able to get the line back in. It's just kind of a pain in the butt, so you gotta do both at the same time. So you just lift up the high pressure pump till it kind of gets in the hole there, then, so now see it's in there a little bit. So another thing that's gonna happen too is you're gonna have to slide your high pressure pump into the back of the head. Now it only has one way that it goes in. Well, it goes in multiple ways, but you may have to turn the engine over by the crankshaft. So, lucky for you, the same filter, or the same socket for the oil filter is the same one to turn the engine over. So, what I'm gonna do is I have a socket on the crank, and I'm gonna kind of walk this and try to work this in while turning the engine over. It is not loving me right now. It fell out of the fuel line there too. There we go. So I was turning the crank over. And then it slides in. You got to make sure that you're holding the pump as straight as possible, getting it, you know, to the straight as possible to the back of the head. And also don't forget to remove your old one of these. This one comes on the new pump. It'll be in there, and then before you tighten up your pump, you're gonna have to reach down, and then grab that fuel line, or the metal fuel line fitting, the 19 millimeter, and then so you can kind of manipulate it and make it thread on. It should thread on pretty easily. What, Max? I'm standing in it. And then you shouldn't have to force these threads on this line here. It should thread in relatively easy. Just finding the right position for everything. I mean, now it shouldn't be too hard because you technically shouldn't have bent the line or anything. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start a couple threads on these bolts for the high pressure pump. Dude, quiet. Okay, I have one pump bolt kind of in there, and then I'll get the other one in there now too. Good dog, I swear. One of my butts. So you shouldn't have to force these or use really a socket to get them on. Everything should just kind of go in. Sometimes this 19 is just a little butt head to get lined up here. So you kind of got to jiggle it around and find its happy place. It's like I can't just show it at all though. That's the problem. There's no space for my camera to fit in here with my hands. So, but basically I'm down there, I'm just trying to turn that nut or that high pressure pump to get it all lined up. Doesn't take a lot of force. It's just the line kind of springs a little bit, and I've never struggled this much with one, honestly. Another thing that can help too is if you get a little pick down there and kind of move the line around while you're trying to thread it in. Just gently manipulate it. I don't know which way it's. Frustration sets in. Frustrating. Actually, I thought the rubber line was going to be the hardest part. Instead, it's this stupid little metal one. Does not want to thread on at all. There we go. It's going. It's starting, but it's just not spinning. Because if you would have to spin that on with a wrench, it's going to take you half an hour just to thread it on. It should be easy enough that you could thread it to where it stops. Like I said, manipulating the pump at the right angle and getting everything to work together is kind of can be a pain in the butt. In here and just try to get a couple spins out of it. I don't know why I feel like it's on correctly. It's just fighting me. It takes barely any effort to turn it over. But if you sat here and turned it like that, it'd be here for so long. Let's see if I can get it to go now. It just doesn't want to freaking spin for me. What about if I get a pick down there? You don't know if the line needs to go up or down or left or right or going up on it seems to help a little bit. Kind of. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm not gonna record me struggling here, but just know that you have to. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get this line threaded on here because you can't really fit your hands in there. There we go. Well, nope, kind of. It threads on a little bit. It gets hard. It's going. It's just lightly. Alrighty, so I got the two tight for the pump, but don't forget your electric connector, that's what's next. I just left it off to keep it out of my way. So you're just gonna have to reach back. I'll wrap around. In case you forgot, here's a high pressure pump. So it comes off 90 degrees to the passenger side. So we're just gonna plug that in. Somewhere over here, wherever it is down here. Okay, got that clipped in. Wrap your harness around, then you got your two bolts that hold this thing on right here. Okay. And what the heck did I do with those bolts? I don't know. Oh, they're right here. So one trick that I like to use is just rip off a piece of paper, stick it on the end of your bolt here, and then stick your socket on and it'll kind of hold it on. And then help you get it started because these can be, they're really down here. Boom. Grab your other bolt. Have another piece of paper on the end of the bolt and perfect. said earlier, I'm just using an 8mm here to tighten these E10s. You'll find these a lot on here. And that's on there. And then just need your plug for your high pressure pump. Put it in, put your oil filter back in. Don't forget to take your socket off your crank because you don't want to start it with that on there. Don't forget to put your core back in your box because this is a core. Let's see, where's my ME at? I did unplug the ME here because I was just trying to get you guys a better view of everything. So I'm going to plug that back in. The way you unplug these, you just pull these releases here and it comes up like that. So now, got that on, I'm going to put the airbox back. Line up your rubber stoppers here that hold your airbox in. And then wrestle with this intake for about a half an hour. Now it's really cold. Okay, let's slide these electrical connectors back on. Okay. Slide my ME back in here. I mean, if this helps you, you can also unplug your ME fully. Sometimes these slides can be a real pain in the butt to get off, so it's not too bad. If you need some extra space to slide your... So the bottom of the ME here, the bottom here of the ME has to go into those slots down there on the intake. So if you know you got it right, it'll kind of fall right into those things. And once you got it in, just put it forward. Put your locking things back on. And then there's two connectors down here for this electrical ones. So we'll plug in now. That's backwards. That's this one. Got a little retaining clip over here. This ME connector goes on first. And this one. You're all set. I did take off this line over here. Took off this vacuum pump line here, then you put it back on. This is for the brake booster. Snap that in place. Now the other casualty of war was this thing. So like I said, you can kind of manipulate it and put it back together. Better off buying a new one so you can kind of get it back together. These are so stupid. I hate how they did these because you know what? We're always buying these for customers. You do a service, you gotta take it off, they fall apart. I wasn't like it when I brought it in, and then you're throwing in a new freaking thing. So when the V6s or the V8s have two of them, you're doing two. It's just a big pain. But I hate those things. Some of them, they used to be plastic, and I think like some of the aftermarket ones are like plasticky. I have this backwards. Look at you. It's backwards. Pretty basic. Actually, it's a pretty simple job. What, it took me like an hour maybe? Including the rain. That's on, that's on, that's on. Put your engine cover back on. just so you know, when you start this thing, it's going to take a little bit for fuel pressure to build up, so go ahead and cycle that key a few times before putting your foot on the brake or starting it. So you feel pressure, do it a couple times before you try and start it. There you go, you're all done. The first crank is going to crank over like that, so don't be worried. After, when you start it, you know, it does that long crank that it just did to me. So that's a video that I'm going to try to do, upload here soon. My brother-in-law said I should do it, so I haven't done a video in a while, especially a how-to video. I am going to be having a how-to video hopefully coming up soon. Not that it pertains to many of you probably or whoever. I didn't find, so I have to do cylinder heads on a S5, so a 3-liter supercharged Audi, and it pays 25 hours. And I didn't see any videos on how to remove the cylinder heads on those. I'll be doing that in the car. I won't be removing the engine. So, and it's like hit or miss whether it's worth it or not. So that video will be coming out, who knows when. I have to do it still. I have a GTI that I'm still putting back to stock in there. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I'll see you guys later. That is how to do a high pressure fuel pump on a W204 with the 271 Evo motor. Okay, bye.